So we're back with another Iron Man old versus new, and I wasn't really sure how I was going to do this one because I technically have already talked about the original 2008 Mark III Iron Man figure in an old versus new. I compared it to the Mark VII for some reason. And I will show this figure off in this video, because, I mean, it is noteworthy, it is a part of this. But I wanted to actually talk about a different Iron Man that is, in a way, a little more relevant to the new one. And that is the, I don't remember the technical name, but it's the Iron Man with, like, the removable armor and the interchangeable pieces. It kind of was doing a similar thing that this new one does from Marvel Legends, the Infinity Saga series. So I figured, hey, it would be fun to compare these two, but don't worry, I'll throw this guy in the ring too, so you guys can get an idea of what the standard Iron Man was like back in the day. So yeah, man, this is 2008, and then 2021. And right off the bat, of course, you can see the size difference. The original Iron Man figures were technically not in the Marvel Legends line. They were just a 6-inch action figure line for the first Iron Man movie. So oftentimes that's what happened with a lot of these Marvel properties. They got 6-inch lines that kind of could be integrated into Marvel Legends. And for Iron Man, they're a little smaller, but I still personally display a lot of them next to my Marvel Legends. But as Marvel Legends is going back and giving them proper Marvel Legends, like you can see with the Mark III, and they've already teased they're going to do the Mark II and just add some rivets to it, which is all you really need to do. I just hope the Mark II is all painted silver and not a crappy silver plastic like they did with the Midas. But anyways, yeah, you can definitely see the size difference, and another difference you can probably note right off the bat is the paint. The new one is just cast in red plastic with some gold paint, and the new one is actually head to toe covered in metallic red and metallic gold paints. You can definitely see that if you zoom in. You can see how the old one is covered in like a metallic red, which looks pretty good. I mean, it is an older figure, so it's not going to be, it's going to be worn down a little bit. You can see like on the hip there, that looks pretty solid. You can see on the arm there how it looks nice and glossy. I mean, it's a pretty good paint scheme. But the new one, it is a flat red plastic. I think it's too bright. I don't think it has enough sheen. It does have some of that marbleization that I don't really think works for this Iron Man design. I personally, when it comes to the, the colors, I think the old ones look better. And let's stay in the other old one that I feel like has even better paint than the other old one. You can see he's got like the nice metallic red paint all over him. I think that just looks pretty good, man. It's a shame that Hasbro will, continuously just give these Iron Man figures, they'll just cast them in red plastic, which is a letdown. Honestly, I feel like they should paint them. But it's all good, apparently Hasbro can't afford to do it, even though they do it with, like, Ultron and other characters. But anyways, yeah, a big reason I wanted to compare these is because they kind of have these, these armor features and everything. So let's look at the old one first. So this old armorized Iron Man, he actually is missing parts. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Basically, the main things he's missing, he has this button back here that if you push, it pushes out his arc reactor, because he has an arc reactor that is interchangeable with either like the old one or the new one, because he gets the arc reactor stolen in the movie. So you have the little arc reactor, which is pretty cool. I'm very fortunate to at least have that, even though I think it's like the gold version. So you plug that back in. Then he has a removable chest plate, which is usually how I display him to keep him looking pretty unique on the shelf, which is pretty cool. He's got like all this silver paint down there. That looks nice. He's got individual shoulder pads that are attached to the shoulders, but if you move the shoulders all the way up, you can see they want to untab. He also did have interchangeable forearms with, flesh forearms. I don't see why you'd ever want to use that. They look kind of ugly. I would just stick with this. I would stick with the gloves, even though because of how that works, you lose wrist articulation, but you still have forearm posability. And you can see how the helmet comes off. And you can see the stellar likeness to Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, it's not that good looking. Honestly, I don't even know if they knew that Robert Downey Jr. was going to be playing Iron Man when they sculpted this. Because hell, they didn't know that Jeff Bridges was going to be Ironmonger when they did the original sculpt on that. I did a video, a toy line showcase of the original 2008 Iron Man, and I showed the catalog for the toys. And the Ironmonger didn't even have the, Jeff Bridges likeness. And this doesn't look too much like Robert Downey Jr. I mean, it does a little bit. But you can see this figure is actually all cast in gray plastic and got the metallic glossy red and gold oversprays. So that's pretty interesting how they did that. His articulation on this figure, if we get that back on, oh geez, you'll very likely, more often than not, find these figures missing the shoulder pads, if you ever find these on the secondhand market. So if you really want this guy in good condition, at least in like good physical condition like how I have mine, get him in the box. Just try to find it packaged, because you'll get all the accessories. But this version has a ball joint at the head that doesn't give you too much range. Ball hinges at the shoulders, you already saw how those work. Swivels at the bicep, double elbows with very deep hinges that look very action figure-y. Nothing at the torso because of the gimmick. Forearm swivels. He's got like the ball hinge swivel thing at the hips, but it's actually really fluid and works really good. Thigh swivel, double knee, and then he's just got like hinge swivel ankles with no pivot. So that's how this one is. But let's, before we go on to the new Iron Man, take a quick look at this one that I've already talked about. From the waist down, it's essentially the same figure. It's essentially identical in pretty much every way. But he does have wrist articulation, he does have some waist articulation, and he does have a more posable head, and he does not have a removable faceplate. So yeah, in many ways he is very similar to the other one, but you can see this version, which is the more standard Iron Man, has more articulation. For accessories, he had like some stupid missile launcher. Who cares about that? If you're watching a Marvel Legends comparison video, you really don't care about the missile launcher. What am I talking about? But I can see how those stand next to each other. I would say out of these two, get this one. But we've got the new Marvel Legends to talk about. And this is a pretty cool figure. Is it the best 6-inch MCU Iron Man? It's up there. It's definitely up there, but I do have some issues with it. Just a few issues. I already pointed out I don't like the red. I just think it's too bright. I wish it was a more like metallic look. I just, I don't know why they insist on Iron Man being this brighter red when I feel like the darker candy red, like on this, looks so much better. But, yeah, let's look at the head. It's not that great looking, I hate to say it. It's not that good. It's not. I'm not gonna display him like that. I'm just not seeing it, man. I'm not seeing it from any angle. I'm just not seeing it. I think it's because maybe his mouth's a little open. Maybe he just looks super tiny in the helmet. I don't know, but I just don't see Robert Downey Jr. in that at all. I just don't, which is a shame, because the Infinity Saga one looks perfect from Endgame, but this one it just doesn't look like him. So yeah, that is an interchangeable head, and that's probably one of the last times that'll ever be on this body. So let's pop that off. Let's give him his helmeted head, which I do have to say is a little tight to get on. Ugh. Oh, geez, there we go. That took some finger grease. But you can see this head, this helmet's pretty good. But you can see the sheens are just a little off. I mean, he's got like the swirly plastic, but also just the gold on the faceplate. It's pretty decent looking, but you can see like some inconsistency on the forehead. I don't know, I just like my Iron Man looking super nice and clean and pristine. And yeah, I don't know. When I see sloppiness like that, I point it out. Because I mean, if you look at this, that gold paint's pretty immaculate. That's pretty crisp. And on that one, the sculpt's way better, but the gold's a little iffy. But yeah, I really like how the arc reactor's done. I like how it sort of has like that aura around it. I actually think that looks really good. Yeah, I mean, his armor looks pretty decent, man. It's looking pretty good. I always forget, no, this one doesn't have like the brake flaps or anything. Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I think it does. He actually is pinless. He does have pins there, but that's actually part of the design, so I don't really blame him. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good looking figure. It does actually have the gray on the boots. The old one actually has that too. Actually did retain that detail, so that's nice. It definitely looks better on the new one. But yeah, how does the new one feel? It feels pretty good. Let's go over his articulation. So he's got a double ball joint at the head, so you can see the head gets a lot of nice range. Then we already get issues at the shoulders, because they are clicky and not a good way. You see how they're just clicking? And it's one of those things where I feel like, you just saw that right there. It's like how it sponges. I hate that. I just don't like that. And like, it just, I just want his arms just a slight degree more back. Like, I just want them right there, but it just won't, because it's on these clicks. So it's like the whole arm has one 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It has 8 points of click on the arm. But this, I mean, you can have it anywhere you want. It's just on a friction hinge. I don't see why a shoulder needs to be on a click. I just don't. But I do like how the shoulder pads are done way better. I like how they're on those individual, you know, capped pieces where they'll get out of the way and everything. He's got the biceps. He's got nice elbows. And you may have seen, oh no, he lost that panel. Yeah, we'll get to that. He does have wrists. They don't really hinge too much. You can get a little bit, but because of the arm armor or the hand guard, you really don't get much. Torso is pretty good. I like that. And then the legs, something you would expect to be clicking, is not. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, you get some good range out of the leg. It actually has a drop down, so you can get even more range, and actually has a little bit of a rubbery like underwear. So we got to see, or before we do that, you can see he's got a full knee and he's got an ankle pivot. Doesn't have much though because of the armor. But we got to see, can he do it? Can he do the superhero landing ground pound? And I'm pleased to report, out of a lot of the more modern Iron Man figures we've gotten in recent years, get off their weird, I don't know, fiber thing. I can say, out of a lot of them, he actually pulls it off better than most. Like, especially if you do have the angle a little more upward, like that actually looks pretty good. And like his hand is making contact with the ground, and I really do have to give that to these drop-down hips. And how you can kind of move them off to the side like that. I mean, the articulation's pretty good, man. It definitely is up there. I just don't know what was going on with the shoulders. I don't know. And like that resistance just makes them feel like they might break. And I'm not even joking. Like I can see that, like, especially if the peg's really thin, which looking, it's not the thickest peg. I'm worried, man. I'm sorry. That doesn't feel good. And I like my action figures being satisfying to move. So, what does he come with accessory-wise? Well, he comes with a few things. But disappointingly, this is really weird. Since, 2016, Iron Man Marvel Legends figures have consistently not only had blast effects, but have at least been compatible with blast effects. Until now. He just has these repulsor hands with the paint. There's no hinge, they're just permanently up. And you do not get the option to add the repulsors. Now, granted, you can't add them to the bottom of the feet. You can at least do that. But you cannot give him an actual, repulsor blast with an effect. So that's really odd to me. Let's give him a hand, though. Let's give him a hand. But you can see, yeah, I mean, it looks good. It definitely looks good. But it's, I mean, it's just interesting to me that they didn't do that. But as you saw, that panel does come off, and you can actually see some detail. Yeah, it's a cool little panel. And then you can actually, number one, add the armor, which I think it goes this way. And you can kind of tell by looking at the panel. Yeah, it goes this way because you can see how that little circular thing there. But he actually has a shield where he's deflecting bullets. See how that shoulders is so awkward. But he can deflect bullets with a little shield poking out, which is cool. But then, even cooler than that, you get the tank missiles. And, yeah, definitely digging that. You hear those clicks, right? I don't know, with a figure that's really fluid, and then you just get these shoulders that, click, click. You know, it's a little jarring. It's a little jarring. I don't know what's up with these new Iron Man figures and their, janky shoulders. But yeah, there we go, man. There's a new Marvel Legends Infinity Saga Iron Man Mark III. I dig it. Is it perfect? No. I wish the red looked a little better, and I wish that the shoulders moved a little better. And you may be thinking, oh man, you're nitpicking, you're so awful. Hey, do you know what this is? It's called a video. It's called a video review. I guess you can call this a review. And I give my opinion. And if I didn't say that I didn't like that, then I wouldn't be giving my full opinion now, would I? I'm sorry. If that doesn't bug you, if you like the shade of red, and if you don't mind the shoulders being like that, you know what? That's awesome, man. You're not wrong, and neither am I. It personally bugs me, and I'm going to voice my opinion, and I'm not going to say my opinion is this figure's awful. Those shoulder ratchets make this figure really terrible. No, I just say I personally don't like it, because it's my opinion. Yeah, guys, there we go. There's my old versus new on the Iron Man Mark III. Like I said, I really do like the new one, but I feel like it has some issues. For me personally, I don't like those shoulders and I don't like the red. But the old ones, they're pretty neat. They're definitely dated with how they feel and how they look and their size and their shoulder pad configuration and their like, just look in general. I mean, did you see that Robert Downey head? But then again, this one I don't feel like looks too much like him either. I guess that's another complaint I have. I just don't feel like that looks like him too much. But that's just me. You might think it looks exactly like him, and that's perfectly fine. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to do all the stuff, like be awesome. That's really great. A special shout out to the patrons of Patreon. You guys are great. Thank you all so much for the continued support. I would not be the person I am without this YouTube channel and the people who have supported it. Alrighty, guys, thank you very much for watching. I do have to say, though, I'm actually not joking. Like, I feel like when I started my channel 10 years ago, like, I had a speech impediment, and actually doing the videos helped me get out of that. So, actually, and that, and more like being more outgoing and clear spoken and all that, yes, this channel has actually really helped me as a person, and I thank you guys so much for it. And also, just like, there's so much about it. I'm not going to get into it. I just want to say I appreciate you guys. Alrighty, thanks so much for watching. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.